This one devotee I knew for a long time, who had entered a stage of intense doubt and stuff, said, uh, whether all this came from like a God or from nothing, to me, both are equally absurd. You know, either way. And I said, well, actually, I didn't say anything at the time. But I was on a train ride with you around 3 months later, and the answer came to me. So that happens sometimes too. Uh, and that was the dictionary definition of absurd is that all this came from nothing. That's called absurd. But that this comes from a supreme being, that's not absurd. That comes under the heading of achintya, that which is inconceivable. So, in Russia, Russian examples come to my mind. So you have to forgive me or encourage me. But I like to, when I think, I like Dostoevsky, some things of Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Chekhov, the favorite things that I have that left lasting impressions upon me. So as I've mentioned before, you have an insect with their antennae, and one's like on the leg of Tolstoy, let's say, and they're giving accurate readings of what they're able to verify. So they're convinced. I mean, they're like, hey, they got to read it. They have a system of how to gather information and get accurate readings, and then make speculations based, conclusions based on what the gathered evidence, right? So when you're on and there's like, what do the pores of the body, the parched skin, the hairs coming out, all the other things there could be. It's not like on one level they're giving any false readings. They're there. Now that was a 12, and the guy's writing it down, or however they do it, and so then they come back and then they describe him along the lines of parched skin, hair, follicles, pus, etc. This is their analysis of him, and they could swear on a stack of insect Bibles that it's the truth. Right? But they're so far away from understanding, like, what is mind, that he has a brain, what to speak, a mind, and within that, the particular type of mind, its tendencies, capacities, then we're talking like consciousness, soul, etc., producing literature. That's not in their realm of antennae investigation. So we try to analyze Krishna that way. It's like with the little antennas, like we're going to analyze Krishna Lila or some aspect, the holy name is this or that. That's what we're doing. So we're left, even Stephen Hawking's, well now, I see that, it's the same thing, right? So what are we left with? The infinite making himself known to the finite, revealed truth. And that's why it's not just like, I need this information now. It's when they decide that you need this information now. You don't decide that. And what is it based upon? Service necessity. And then someone say, well, I'm just here doing bookkeeping. I'm never going to get any of the good stuff. It's not like A plus B equals C kind of thing. No, but the heart, under the influence of service tendency, may think of things and they may reveal to that heart. Like in a very sweet way. So what I mean to say is, thinking of Srila Guru Maharaj, he will remind us, well, wait, what to speak of Krishna and what he's doing with his flute. That flute is not an ordinary flute. Let's understand who the flute is. Right? And there's that famous sloka Gurudev likes to quote, written by Rupa Goswami, but from the mouth of Chandravali, which makes it even more interesting, where she's saying, and that's again what I was talking about last night, envy, but like the kind of, if envy could ever be good, here's where it is, where she and other gopis, they're envious of the flute, and they're expressing their envy and resentment by saying, that flute. What is that flute? There's, they're going, even though, look, they're Chinmoy people, so they can talk this way. They're going, it's just a dry piece of wood, nothing. But why should a dry piece of wood get all the nectar from Krishna's lips? This is ridiculous. It's just absurd. That is too much for us to handle. That this dry piece of wood, just a piece of bamboo, that's good for nothing, does nothing, good for nothing. It's all, Yoga Maya gopi jokes. Right? Is constantly at the lips of Krishna. It's like you even can't pull it away. It's immediately back there. And this endless stream of the nectar of Krishna's lip going into this flute and then coming out, and the environment making everybody crazy. So what is really meant for us is being intercepted by this unqualified, dry piece of bamboo. Is this not? You want to talk about your God or not God? This is the most absurd thing from her point of view. Right? But in this way, many things are being expressed. And then you have the bamboo on the banks of the Ganga, and they're all going like, our son, the flute, he made, like they're at the graduate, he did so well, he's now, with Krishna all the time. I knew that he would do well. Even when he was a little bamboo shoot, you could see this kind of potential was there. Yes, and he's my cousin, I want you to know. And they're all claiming, and another way, they're proud that the flute, he achieved that, and see, what bamboo can do if given a chance. They have another point of view, right? But needless to say, that flute, how high is the position of that flute? Because we can say, people go, they want to talk about all these confidential things. Well, that flute's always with Krishna. Very rarely. We hear, in some instances, Krishna's so bewildered by the beauty of Radharani, and he might drop the flute, or sometimes they steal it from him. And, that kind, but it's still there. Even if you consider that it's stolen from him, it's still there. So that flute, what that flute is privy to, is what I mean to say. So if we want to say, what is this note, any particular note, sounded by this flute, then we have to factor in that the whole spiritual world, Vaikuntya, Prithvivyadi, Sakala Chinmoy, the whole thing from the ground up is made of Chinmoy. It's means it's spiritually conscious, dedicating substance. Then springing out of soil, the eternal paraphernalia of Krishna. And Krishna, your name is Muralishwar. Murali, Ishwar. Particular flute of Krishna, Murali, Ishwar. So, and what Krishna is playing at that time, and what that means, all of this has to be factored in before it can be approached, and then it has to do with service necessity. And then Guru Maharaj's explanation of the Brahma Gayatri, Gurudev's further explanation of that, Kirtan of Mahaprabhu, and the Gopi Gita, and what is the purpose of his song. It has to all be consistent. So we, with our heads bowed, will hear Guru Maharaj telling us Radha Dasyam, the servitorship of Radharani. But what that is, here in his sloka, the Shamalila Avalambam, the whole Shamalila Madhura is dependent upon her. And what her response is to it, any particular thing at any particular time is her service domain. The whole construct of Vrindavan, it's a construct of her heart, her dedicating herself. It's all that way. So that's more than enough. But that particular notes, remind her of particular things, and that's enough. Roof is going to cave in. But we're safer thinking Young Shama Sundaram, Achintya Gunas, qualities, inconceivable paraphernalia, pastimes, etc. And that puts us back in the proper position of realizing the only time we're ever going to have any connection with this is when our Guru Varga may deem it appropriate. Otherwise, I recall one time when some girl was asking Srila Gurudev a question in Lakta, actually making a statement about so many things. And it went very high at some point, confidential, and it ended on the name of Radharani. And then she was wanting to now hear something from him in response to all these things that she just said. And Gurudev looked at me and went, "Macaroni?" And what he did, all the tension left the air at that point. And what he meant to say through humor was like, what you described to me, that's where this is going. That high, it's not even remotely connecting with that. It's in the macaroni world. This jumble of things together. So he's not going to delve into that at that time. So we can't, what's the word, capriciously, when they're from the Philippines. Funny TV. Dhanyavad. Any questions from anybody else? Still, we're told, like today, the lady wanted to hear some of the poetry of Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, the like. And Srila Gurudev is pointing out, when Veda Vyasa is making these profound philosophical declarations, like in the beginning, Janmad Yasyad Yatanbayad Itaratas Cha Arteshu Abhignaswarat, has to be intended to be in long prose lines. Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmat Saranam Satam. But when he gets to the Gopi Gita, it shifts and becomes this very sweet rhyming line that the Acharya pointed. The seventh syllable echoes the first, as in Tava Kattamritam Ta Jivatam Kavibir Iditam Kalmasha Apaham Shravana Mangalam Sri Mad Atatam Buri Ganantite Buri Dhajana. These gopis, and this is so beautiful. Guru Maharaj will say sometimes that who are the Braja gopis? The half civilized, silly, jungle teenage girls of Vrindavan. That's their posture. Right? Like we have that stereotype in the mind, the silly teenage girls, they talk about all kinds of things and have their own word and all these things. People generally consider like idle gossip or chatter. And Aprakrita, they're like that, but it's different. So if we follow the story closely, they would have us believe, because they're just simple cowherd girls. They sometimes go to religious performances where Brahmins are reciting the Vedas. They're listening. So they heard some things. So when they're with themselves, their method of glorifying Krishna might be a little different. So they're thinking, remember that Brahmin said that thing about how they're talking about and they recite that Sanskrit, descended, the saved, one of these very high, like glorifying slokas. Then Brajagopi, they take one syllable from the last and move it to this one. They're moving endings around, like breaking it in a new place. Then it'll turn into something like Raghunath Das Goswami saying, one Gopi saying, yes, you are an acharya, the acharya of despicable behavior. Now we say, well, that's an insult. Wait, everyone else is saying, no, Krishna, he's come to save everyone. No, if he came to save everyone, aren't we on the list? Is Braja Gopis on the? No, I don't see it. There's a long list of people you're saving. Where are we? So you're going to save we're dying, and so you're not going to do anything for us. But all these other people, you descended to save them. It says that right here in the book. Right? Supposedly you wrote these books, the Vedas, they emanated from your breathing. We heard many things from the Brahmins about you and your books. And we're trying to find out what part applies to us. So but Krishna, he says in Charitamrita, when they're chastising me or insulting me, I can't concentrate on the Vedas. And the Vedas were with all these wonderful pronouncements, how great he is and wonderful, and he's descended to do all these. And he becomes distracted because Braja Gopis are telling him how horrible he is. So it all becomes inverted at another point. As we were saying, the Jnana, once Guru Maharaj said these very words, he said, Krishna likes to surround himself with ignorant people. What does that mean? I thought he's surrounded by like all these brilliant people, and now you're telling me the ultimate reality, Supreme Personality of Godhead and all the other things, he likes to surround himself with ignorant people. And then he started explaining, yes, they're known as Jnana Shunya Bhaktas, people who are not aware of his divinity. Because we could understand without too much extravagance, that could get annoying. Right? If people can never look beyond that, right? That happens to famous people in this world. Someone, they call it being starstruck. They just can't get, like, you're that person I saw in the movie or on stage, and they just can't, and the person, it's just driving them insane. They're at a restaurant trying to have normal interact, and like they put down the napkin, want them to sign their name, that kind of thing. That's just with a movie star or musician in this world. You can imagine what that does to Krishna, right? So the Jnana Shunya Bhaktas don't do that because, as inconceivable as it sounds, they've reached a stage where it's not a factor. It's very suppressed in them to the point that they don't know it. They really don't know it. It's not like they're pretending, and it's just very hard for us to get our heads around that. We think, oh, come on, they know. You're putting me on. You know they know. But they don't know. And if we talk about our friend Stanislavski, the Russian acting guru, he's internationally accepted as such. He says, in his what they call it, and they call it the method, right? He said that when you fully absorb yourself in this character, it's actually a perfect description of Sahajiyaism. And someone even wrote a book about it. But he's saying, when you're fully absorbed in that character, you will become them. You won't think, oh, I'm acting that there'll be a point. He's saying if you do everything just right, you'll have an epiphany where you become them. In gesture, thought, movement, and everything. So, but he's saying it's acting, and this is the part, like the Sahaji is done. They're going, yeah, see, we also believe that. But hello, he's the god of acting. You didn't actually become that. But to discuss the merits of this kind of concept, they're not just acting a part, but they are like that. Yashoda, whatever. So I pointed out, it's ironic that on one level, we say, we're preaching about Krishna's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if you say that to her, you could get slapped. She thinks that's a vicious rumor started by envious people. So she's Goloka, Saraswati Thakur, that means 360 degrees circle in all directions. So, and it's very mystic. You know, he's saying right angles, and you put them all together, and it makes this ball go. Look, it's 360 degrees of infinite. So, it's a very mystical thing. I can't explain more than that. But the point is, they've gone so far beyond this. That's why Guru Maharaj said, Yashoda is not a charja material in the conventional sense. And believe me, if we're going on talking about the glories of Madhura Rasa, she does not want to hear that. This would be an absurd conversation to her. And Guru Maharaj said, Vatsalya Rasa Madhura, they're naturally pitted against one another because she wants Krishna to get a good night's sleep and do his, and Braja Gopis want him to rendezvous with them in the forest. This is part of that world. So all these things that apply here, they don't apply there. And Guru Maharaj says, we'll always find the truth in the middle position. Central conception of the infinite. In the madhyam, there, the real truth will come out. So Krishna, again, he's not in the Brahmin, he's not in the Shudra, he's in the middle, in the Vaishya section. Right? And the mantrams, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan, what we're looking for is in the middle. Radha Madan Mohan, Guru Maharaj will say that necessarily that must be the Sambandha Tattva, deity, because everyone in this world, what are we? We're under the influence of Madan, of Cupid, sex desire. That Freud got it half right. He's saying, he's sitting there, and the whole world is under the influence. It's all sex desire, and on various levels, he was right. But he couldn't conceive that it would have its representation in the highest reality. And it is. So if Madhura Rasa is the source of everything, and it is, it's the origin of Vatsalya Rasa, it's the origin of Sakya Rasa, and etc. It's the Adi Rasa. It's the original. Not that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's coming down in that way. So it's the source of everything. Then, what does he need? What does he need?
He needs some stuff.
Oh, okay. Just take whatever you need. Okay. Anyway, what was the point? About Madhura Rasa. Oh. So, so Madan Mohan. So Guru Maharaj is saying, see, Vasudev Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Damanan Ante, Gyanavan Mam. When you come to understand it, Krishna, it's everything. That's like Krishna, no mention of Radha, it says Krishna, Vasudev. Vasudev Sarvam. He said that's the first conscious personification when you've like turned in the right direction, the spirit, the Vaikuntha world. Right? It's Krishna alone. But when we want Radha and Krishna, the seed of this conception, Radha Madan Mohan, means that Krishna, it's taking us in the direction of Madhura Rasa, but by dealing with the first thing, you have to break the attraction of Madan. So it couldn't be the second deity or the third, is the point. You understand? Has to be in the first primary position. Because only Madan Mohan and Madan Mohan Mohini, they can break that attraction that's keeping us riveted to the mundane, bound in the mundane. But it's taking us in the direction of not to just leave one empty-handed, but the domain of Madan Mohan. But then Guru Maharaj will say, Sriman Rasa Rasarami Bangshi Bhatta Tatastita Karshan Benu Sunai Gopi Gopinath. That's Gopinath, Prayojan Tattva. He said, still, that's with all the groups, the famous Rasa Lila, they're all assembled there. He said, but in the middle position, Rupa Goswami Soka, Dibya Brindarana Kapadrumadha, Srimad Ratna, Srimad Radha, Srila Govinda Devo, Presta, Ali be, praise to Ali, praise to Ali be, save your money. Here it says, in a limited group, an exclusive group, Radharani's group only. That's his target. And that's the target of this line. So, very interesting how this all unfolds. But it's all necessary. Madhura rasa, Vatsalya rasa, Sakya, everything. So even we say Krishna today, yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata. Right? Irreligion has overtaken religion to such a degree that religion's converted into irreligion. Krishna is going to descend. We hear in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, what? Vyas being chastised by Narada for what? If we had to really just distill the essence of it, forgiving religion, which is very bewildering at first. We say, I thought that was the good thing you did. And now you're coming and saying, you know what you did wrong. What did I do wrong? You know, you gave people religion. And now after our experience with religion, we kind of get the idea, you know, is that there are different types of religion. So he said, when you give people the idea that they can be religious and stay riveted to the mundane, they're going to jump on that, like, you know, they're going to go for that. And they're never going to want to break with this. And when if anyone tries to push them on it, they go, wait a minute, Veda Vyas wrote in his book, and we're following that. That kind of thing. So, interestingly, so he's saying, now you've got to tell them about Krishna in the Bhagavatam, right? And what is Krishna Lila all about? It appears to be immoral and irreligious. So now you're saying, like, so these immoral, irreligious activities of Krishna, this is the new religion. You know, that's right. Tell them about that. And if they can believe that, that'll break their bonds to the mundane. This is a very interesting religion you have. We just told all about this Krishna Lila. All these sages are blushing. And, you know, look at them. So that's when Parikshit Maharaj starts asking some loaded questions. He sees all these, whoa, and he says, so you told us in the beginning there won't be anything impure in this, and no mundane, you know, and then you just told us all about Krishna's pastimes, Braja Gopis. Could you explain that? And then, of course, Sukadeva gives all these wonderful explanations about Mahadev Shiva can digest poison. If you take one drop of, you know, he can drink an ocean of it. You take one drop, you're finished. So yes, this is that elixir for the heart. It breaks all the bonds of the mundane. But when is it to be given? In what dosage, at what time, and what condition? All these things start to come out. It's very beautiful. Like Gurudev said about homeopathic medicine. Yeah, you got to know, what is your medicine? The potency, and what potency to take it? The dosage of that. And he said, and your time for healing has to have come on top of it all. So what to speak of the nectar of Krishna Lila? Arna Piyusha Viprut, Radharani says, one drop on the heart finishes all mundane attachment. One drop of that real substance. So this portion, these go in little 30-minute clips. I forgot to turn it on before.